Hey everybody, just wanted to cover something I did in my garage and also at the same time give you a quick review of this Chamberlain universal remote. So like many of you, a lot of you probably live in a house that's a little older like I do, and you don't really have a whole lot of say over how wiring was done. And garage wiring is notoriously messy usually because it's such an afterthought. Nobody cares about it. It's low voltage. And it was definitely the case in my case where the wire was actually running on top of the wall. It was stapled along to the ceiling over here, all the way up to this garage door opener. And then a second wire went all the way. See, there's still a mark because the painter didn't fix it. And it went across to this one right here. And I just hated this wire hanging around. And I was thinking, is there a way to get rid of this? And I came up with a pretty low rent solution, which I actually really like. I ordered one of these wireless universal remotes. I installed it here and on the wall, and I programmed it so it totally works. And I'll demonstrate that in a minute. But the other thing I did is I cut all the wires out, and instead of having the wire go all the way across to the switch, what I did is I just put the switch right here, and I'm just gonna store it right above the unit itself, just like that, totally put away. Maybe a little neater than that, but I'll take care of that later. And the switches are still working, obviously, but there's not like 30 feet of wire hanging from them. The reason you still want the switches is the switches have some other additional functionality. Not only can they open and close the door in case your remote runs out of battery, but they can also lock the unit, and you can also, operate the light with them if that's something you want to do. It's not really important to me, but the locking feature is kind of cool. In case you just want to lock out the garage door, there is this lock button on here, which isn't on my remote, obviously. So I got to clean up here a little bit. I just got done, so things are still kind of messy. But so that's what you can do. You can eliminate the wiring completely, replace it with just a remote, just like you would for your car. And then I double side taped this to the wall using some 3M tape that has one of those pull tabs so it doesn't ruin the wall when it comes off. And here we go. So moment of truth. There it goes. And the second one. There they are. Nice and loud garage doors. That's a project for another day. In fact, I'm very likely going to replace these garage doors and the openers in the next couple of years, but I'm not likely to change this solution. I'm probably going to keep that even with the new garage door and the garage door openers because I think it's a clean solution. Say what you will, but this is actually a relatively nice looking unit, and most of these clickers, even the wired ones, are above the wall anyway. Like they're sitting proud of the wall, so they're not like recessed. So if you're concerned about the way they look and whatever, this looks as good, if not, in my opinion, better than most of them. It allowed me to clean up the ceiling here, get rid of all this loose wire that had years and years of paint on it, which I had nothing to do with. Now I've got a nice clean ceiling on my workshop. So now to talk about the unit itself, very easy to program. I followed the instructions, worked like a charm the first time. You gotta follow the instructions, which means you gotta remove this plate first, press and hold that button until the light comes on. Then you hit the learn button on your opener, on the motor itself. And then you pick which button you want, and then you have to click that a number of times as described by the manual. And when it's done and you get the lights clicking, you just hit this button again to save it. That's it. You just save the two buttons, and there we go. So the only downside of having this versus the other thing is this is obviously going to require a battery that needs to get changed from time to time. big deal. You know, I change the battery on my remote in my car all the time. I can just add this to the list. And I feel like it is a far less intrusive thing than having those wires hanging around. Now, I had a particularly bad case. Now, most of you may not have that going on, but a lot of you may have the problem where the wall unit has just stopped working only because the line that's inside the wall has got a little kink in it, or it's been cut, or has been disconnected. If you have that problem, you can do exactly what I did. You can take your switch, put it above the motor itself, right, and wire it in, make sure it works. Okay, once it works, then you go over and you install one of these remotes on your wall. And again, you're good to go then. If you're clever enough, you could probably learn how to wire one of those into power still, so that you know, you get whatever 3.5 volt power, but you need a transformer. You could use a doorbell transformer. Not really worth it. Just change the battery once in a while. So the unit is great. I bought that off of Amazon. I highly recommend it. It's nice and substantial. Here it is compared to my hand. I've got relatively big hands, I guess. It's quite nice. And what's nice about this unit is that you replace the battery, I believe, from here. Can't be sure, actually. Oh, maybe not. So maybe that's a reason why you'd put this on a Velcro sticker type thing. So the next time I take it off, I'll probably replace that with a Velcro so that I can get to the battery. But I think actually what happens is you just put a little screwdriver in here and the whole bezel clicks off. Okay, so unit was easy to program and relatively inexpensive, and seems to be working with these Chamberlain units. And I think if it works with Chamberlain, it will work definitely with LiftMaster. In fact, the little manual here talks about, here we go, linear, Chamberlain, Genie overhead door, Stanley, and Wayne Dalton. Never heard of some of these. But it actually tells you like which years. I'm looking at the Spanish version of all of this. Let's see. It tells you which year those things were popular. So the one I had was that red, or the red learn button. And that means it was installed sometime between 97 and 03. That's a nice thing to also know. So take note of this chart. And that should tell you how old your garage door opener is. These are working just fine. I serviced them. I changed the light bulbs recently, and they're working great. So I don't have any intention of replacing them. Cool. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a quick thumbs up. If you have questions on anything here that you heard, if it wasn't clear enough, let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And I got a link in the description to this specific unit on Amazon that I'll pull below. And if you follow that link and buy the product, I'll get like a couple pennies, and that'll be cool too. But if you don't, that's fine. Don't forget to click subscribe.